Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, our monthly discussion with Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law. Also updates from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, and our weekly comments from Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com. In agriculture information, Kansas farm real estate value, a measurement of the value of all land and buildings and farms, increased from 2022, according to the National Ag Statistics Service. Farm real estate value for 2023 averaged $3,060 an acre, up $430 an acre or 16% from last year. Cropland values increased 17% from last year to $3,440 an acre. Dryland cropland valued averaged $33.20 an acre, $470 higher than last year. Irrigated cropland averaged $4,700 an acre. That's $700 above a year ago. Pasture land, $2,150 an acre, $300 higher than the previous year. Cash rents increased last year as well. Irrigated cropland, $154 an acre, $11 above a year ago. Dryland cropland rent averaged $62.50 an acre, or $1 higher, and pasture rent for cash averaged $22 an acre, or $1 above the previous year. The Dairy Checkoff, marking its 13th year of impact through the Fuel Up to Play 60 program, while preparing a strategy to bring more partners together. Well, beginning this school year, the Checkoff is now moving to the Fuel Up platform. This effort will expand opportunities to increase access to dairy with other foods and engage youth around healthy eating and food production. With the announcement, Dairy Management Incorporated transitioning from a partnership with the NFL to a no-cost collaboration, it paves the way to co-create programs that support youth wellness. Fuel Up will work with schools and partners to deliver solutions and resources that increase access to dairy products, expands meal participation, and educates students on the role nutrition plays in physical wellness and academic achievement. And the National FFA organization this week announcing a record high student membership, 945,988, an increase of 11% from a year ago. In addition, the number of FFA chapters continues to grow, increased by 168, 9,163 chapters now in the U.S., Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The top 5 membership states: Texas, California, Georgia, Illinois, and North Carolina. More than 43% of the membership is female, 49.8% is male. We'll have more coming up in a moment. The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And joining us now is Dr. Roger McEowen, who is an Ag and Tax Law Specialist from Washburn University. Dr. McEowen, great to join us again.
Good to be with you, Ken.
All right, you have picked 3 more that a couple of them really are interested in kind of ag in the courtroom and some of those things. The first thing we look at is a rule regarding medium-sized CAFOs, those confined animal feeding operations. And what were some of the highlights of that case?
Well, this was a rule that was enacted under the Obama administration and that was put in place near the end of the second Obama administration. And basically what it said was for a medium-sized CAFO, which is still pretty big, in terms of what many people think. I mean, it can be over 100,000 chickens and several thousand head of cows and hogs, those types of things, and that still produces a lot of manure. And so people are concerned about that live adjacent to those. And what the concern was that some of the permitting rules were these medium-sized CAFOs were made exempt from some of the permitting rules. And there were some groups that challenged that, some farm groups, some family farm groups, and activist groups that challenged that as not complying with the procedure that applied in those situations for proper promulgation of the rule. And they wanted that rule rescinded and the exception eliminated.
Well, it's one of those that, when you get in CAFOs, it can be, it's either one of those, be careful what you wish for, or
Right.
you could clamp them down too tight.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And the court did agree with the groups that were filing the lawsuit in this, and they set that rule aside, said, no, that wasn't properly developed. That exception is no good.
All right, let's go to the next one. This is one I'm curious of your take on. This is now, it's not the US, we have to go up north, but a emoji, one of these new technological advances that have been around for a while, but you could do that and that certifies an agreement?
Yeah, what this is, Ken, an interesting case. It came out of Saskatchewan, Canada. You had a grain terminal elevator that sent sent letters out to farmers, is what it was. Numerous farmers saying, hey, we'll buy flax this fall upon harvest at $17 per bushel. And there was a farmer that responded to that. And so the elevator followed up with telephone conversations with him and sealed the deal by then sending a written confirmation of a signed contract that a representative of the elevator signed. And what they did was they didn't mail that to him. They took a picture with their phone of the signed contract and sent it by text message to the farmer. And the farmer received the message and replied back by text with a thumbs up emoji. And that was the last of the communication that had occurred until it came time for delivery in the fall at harvest time. And so what these grain terminal elevators do, they take position in the futures market. They have to have grain at the time of delivery. They're counting on that delivery. And they were going to pay $17 per bushel. That was the deal. Well, the interesting thing in the market, Ken, was that at the time of delivery, the price of flax went to $41 per bushel. So it increased 2.5 times, basically. And the farmer said, well, when the elevator called him, where's our flax? Said, well, I don't have a contract with you. All I was signifying by the thumbs up emoji was that I got your text, not that I agreed to the contract proposal. And the court disagreed with that, said, no, you have a contract. And there were some other facts. He had done this type of thing with the elevator before in terms of communicating by text message. And so they said it was reasonable for the elevator to believe that you accepted their offer. And so we have offer acceptance, objective manifestation of intent as to the key contract terms. We got a binding contract, and he had to sell that grain for $17 per bushel.
Wow. Well, that's be careful. Sometimes doing business via phone, via emoji,
Yeah.
could be a bit of a strain. So,
Well, and we would get the same result in Kansas or anywhere else in the United States. And in fact, when we're dealing with grain and these types of contracts, the National Grain and Feed Association rules say all that's needed is confirmation. Anything you do to confirm that you've got an agreement, that's enough. And so in the digital age, digital communication is basically the same as pen and ink, and farmers need to be aware of that.
right. We're talking with Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law. He is an ag and tax law specialist. We're going to take a break, come back and talk the latest on the lesser prairie chicken. We'll do that in just a moment. Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com. Hey, Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law is joining us for our August conversation. And we're talking about some different things with ag in the courtroom. And this one is one that's many of us are familiar with, the lesser prairie chicken. And a group of Kansans are trying to take matters into their own hands in a sense, or asking the court to kind of set aside this whole mess with the lesser prairie chicken.
Yeah, that's right, Ken. And what the federal government officials did that handled the Endangered Species Act was that they came up with a different habitat designation for the lesser prairie chicken by basically splitting it into two. We have a southern region and a northern region, and the western Kansas counties are in the northern region of the lesser prairie chicken. And they changed the rules with respect to the habitat to make a long story short, that basically said that it would impact, or at least the ranchers in the counties in western Kansas that brought the lawsuit are alleging that these new rules would severely impact the farming and ranching activities they could do on their farms and ranch. And in fact, one or a couple of the ranches involved said, hey, we have taken great efforts over the years to preserve rangeland grass, and we think these new designations will harm us in terms of continued preservation efforts with respect to those grasslands. And so the counties are also saying that it would increase their cost to the county substantially. And all the parties were challenging the development of this new rule and the designation of different habitats by not having been developed properly based on other federal laws that govern it. So they were suing for an injunction to set aside that rule and have the appropriate government agency develop a new rule.
So where's that at? Which court is that sitting in right now?
It's in the Federal District Court of Kansas.
Okay. So it didn't try to go outside to maybe quote more friendly one, but just try to play within the boundaries of where they are.
That's right. Yeah. And this is something we're going to continue to follow because it's just starting. They're suing for an injunction. We don't have a court ruling on it yet, but this lesser prairie chicken has caused problems in the courts for 3 decades in Kansas. We've been dealing with it on and off for a long time.
Well, Dr. McEowen, if folks want to learn more about the cases we've talked about and more, you have a blog. Where can they find all that?
Yeah, I talk about these on my blog, which is accessible through my website, and that's washburnlaw.edu/WALTR.
All right, Dr. McEowen, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next month.
Thank you, Ken.
Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law has joined us. We'll have more coming up in just a moment.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Well, growing conditions in corn obviously rely on rain. We have no irrigation. We rely completely on Mother Nature and rain. The biggest impacts are on the drought side. If you don't get the rain, it is a major impact on how much corn we can grow. If it rains too much, that gets back to our seed technology and applying fungicide and insecticide, which is something that can be applied by sprayers to help that from like funguses growing like you see in your yards or gardens or anything, to where it can really affect and make the corn, say, moldy. How we monitor our corn growth is 2 or 3 different ways. A lot of it is walking through the field and literally looking at it with your eyes and in your hand, pulling the shucks back and looking at it. That's one part of it. We also use technology. We utilize that technology that also helps us monitor our fertilizer levels, and it'll kind of give us projections as well. A sprayer is an applicator. You can put on chemicals, insecticide, fungicide, which are all things that have to be applied over the top of a crop. When I say chemicals, herbicide, that is a product that kills weeds. When we apply chemical, you see the big tank on our sprayer. The majority of that is water in there. The water is the additive we used when we apply chemical. The herbicide we add into our tank is a minimal amount versus the entire tank of water. They have to be applied in a certain time frame. They have to be applied at a certain growing stage. So a sprayer basically is there to help prevent weeds, kill weeds, and prevent a problem. If we over applied, it would do nothing but hurt the ground. It would hurt the farmer. It would not be good for anybody. No farmer wants to lose this technology because one of the biggest struggles we have is keeping the ground clean. So we apply things right and we do it right, because if we don't, we're going to lose it.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Kansas State University recently released the Kansas Wheat Variety Guide 2023 to aid producers in making the critical selection of which varieties will best match the needs of their operations. This annual publication provides detailed ratings for agronomic characteristics like maturity, height, drought tolerance, and straw strength, as well as resistance to different diseases. To use the variety ratings, wheat producers should consider the following factors. First, growers should evaluate how well varieties are adapted for their geographic areas, especially in a state with as much diversity as Kansas. For example, the guide details varieties successful in western Kansas tend to have a medium or medium-late maturity, a medium height or taller, as well as a good drought tolerance. Next, producers should determine which diseases are the most important to address through built-in resistance. Genetic resistance to insects and/or diseases is a powerful control tool for producers that can reduce the risk of several disease problems, but not many varieties have resistance to every disease. Finally, growers should determine whether a herbicide-resistant variety is necessary. To learn more about variety selection for 2024 growing season, visit our website at kansaswheat.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Our farmers and ranchers in western Kansas, in the Midwest total, with the long drought, I don't know how they would have made it without the Farm Bill. We're talking about 4 or 5 years of catastrophic crop losses and crop insurance and aid through the Farm Bill were many times the only ways some of these family farms made it through. Farming's a risky business because of the weather, because of all the unknowns. It provides for some stability within our community, and this just allows us a little bit of security to know that we can pay our bills in the end. We raise cattle, sheep, and then we grow corn, soybeans, and hay. We incorporate all three on all of our farm ground. We plant cover crops, we graze crop residue. We have livestock pretty much year-round on some piece of farm ground. We've partnered with the Natural Resource and Conservation Service to put in some buffer strips along creek banks that protect our watersheds. We've also started planting cover crops and used technical assistance from them in planting those cover crops. We also have quite extensively used the EQIP program to remove invasive species from our native range. So EQIP has partnered with us to control and to bring some of our pastures back. In our crop ground, they've helped us with technical advice when it comes to cover crops and no-till and things that we can do to save some of our soil. Well, I think second to our national security is food security, and the knowledge that we have a safe, abundant food supply in our grocery stores at all time. I think that benefits all of us to not worry about where our food's going to come from. We got a little taste of that during COVID. I think that drove home the message of why the Farm Bill is so critical, not only to farmers and ranchers, but also to consumers.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Imagine having someone help you pick the best corn hybrids for every field on your farm. Your Oldie representative can combine your data with his data to offer a field-by-field prescription. Contact Oldie Seed today at 877-692-4555.
Producers and landowners who install enduring conservation practices may qualify to receive financial assistance through a voluntary state cost share program designed to encourage the improvement of water quality and quantity across the state. Funding is provided by the Kansas Department of Agriculture Division of Conservation through appropriation from the State Water Plan Fund. The cost share program is administered by conservation districts across the state. Along with the annual funding, additional money is available for fiscal year 2024 to landowners and producers interested in implementing eligible practices such as irrigation management, nutrient management, planting cover crops, managing livestock water supplies, cross-fencing, and abandoned well plugging. Those accepted for the program will be notified of the practice or practices approved and the estimated amount of cost share to be provided. Projects started or completed prior to being approved for funding by individual districts and the Kansas Department of Agriculture Division of Conservation are not eligible for these funds. To apply for cost share funds or for more information on the program, contact your local conservation district. A district directory can be found at agriculture.ks.gov.
You support your family, your church, and your community. And you do it because you love it. But don't forget, your mental health is just as important as your physical health.
It's just hard for, especially a male my age, to just admit I'm not feeling right, because that's not how we're brought up. There is no shame in asking for help.
There is help for anyone struggling with mental health. Text or call 988 to be connected to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Talk to someone. Above all, don't suffer in silence. For more resources, visit kfb.org/Rural Minds Matter.
Good day. I'm Derek Hermish with Pinion, a division of KCO ISOM. Volatile grain markets are the new normal, it seems. The good thing about true volatility is that it creates much more opportunity than flat markets. However, your opportunity to experience regret is much greater as well. For example, Say you sell your soybeans on a 50-cent rally only to watch it go up another $1 the next week after you sell. Can you be happy about selling into the initial rally, or are you going to focus on what you missed out on? Regret should be the least of your concerns when it comes to marketing, but it can rear its ugly head in these environments and negatively affect decisions down the road. Selling your grain at profitable levels is the key. That's what you're always told, but it's never that simple. It is true that you will not go broke selling for a profit, but you're not in the business of making widgets for $1 and selling them for $2. Volatile markets provide opportunity, but they also provide opportunity cost. If you make a decision that nets you 50 cents less on average for your grain than your fellow neighboring farmers, nobody is going to offer you a discount on fertilizer or seed or equipment repairs to help you make up for it. Quite the opposite, as we've seen recently with inputs going higher. There are options, literally, that can be very useful in volatile markets. Yes, I am referring to puts and calls. I know there are many of you out there that are not fans of options. I talk to you quite frequently, and sometimes I agree with you. But in my experience, this is the environment to utilize them. If you'd like to visit with us about it, give us a call at 888-452-8751. I'm Derek Hermish. Have a good day.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
That's our show this week. Be social with us online at kansasagreport.net or our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on the Kansas Ag Report.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.